Hey, good evening, everybody, and welcome. Thanks for joining. If you're watching this now live or you're watching it on a replay, I just want to take this opportunity and welcome you all and say thank you for joining me this evening. This is Clanton Connect. I started my very first one last month. And after talking with my team and just kind of really looking at my personality as a person and always trying to engage and give information and to also have a dialogue back and forth with individuals, we are deciding to actually run this every Sunday evening at 7 p.m. So starting next Sunday, we were planning to do it this current Sunday, but of course with the storms and everything, kind of made it a little unstable with the internet. But even if there are a Sunday going forward that we can't particularly get on live, we'll record this and also make sure that it's out there. But for those who are joining who don't know me, I'm Carlos Clanton. I am candidate for Super Ward 7 Norfolk City Council. I'm currently an elected member of the Norfolk City School Board representing Ward 3. And we'll talk a little bit more because some of you all may not know what Super Ward 7 actually entails. And so we're going to go through that. But we have a great, what I hope to be about a good solid 30 minutes. But going forward, we'll also have guests that'll join us, individuals who actually endorse and support my message and support my platform will also be joining us as we go forward. And we'll be talking about a myriad of different topics, priorities that you all as members of the community have helped to share. I'm in to provide to me. So again, welcome to everybody. You also have an opportunity, before I forget, if you're watching on YouTube or you're watching on Facebook, in the comment section, feel free. If you have a question about something or something you want me to address or bring up, you can place it in the chat and I'll be able to bring that up at a time. And we'll have a Q&A section in each one of these lives. And give me an opportunity to be able to share and to begin to have that dialogue. I'm trying to reach as many individuals within our community. I'm a transparent individual. I want to engage. I want to hear your concerns, hear your thoughts, your suggestions, and to see how we might be able to best implement those things. And most importantly, how we can advocate to support your life. So look, one of the things that I also want to share is that we're changing the name a little bit. I know I've got Clanton Connect engaging Norfolk's residents. And to be perfectly honest, I went on and began to talk about that. And I was like, you know what? I don't just engage. Engage is almost a one-way streak. But reality is that I'm an advocate. I've been advocating for my community as I can remember as a teenager, trying to make it better. As I travel across this country, representing and being involved in many different things, I always advocate for my home. I advocate for Norfolk. I'm serving on the Norfolk City School Board. I advocate for our students. When I was director of the Chamber of Commerce, advocating for business. So going forward, you will be seeing this. This will be Clanton's Connect, advocating for Norfolk's residents. And this will be an opportunity for us to be able to share. Ultimately, what I consider being your next city council member is building relationship with the members of our community, and not just one segment. Norfolk is such a diverse place. Being able to listen, whether or not I agree or whether or not, religious, whatever, it does not matter. If you're going to be the elected representative, you have to be willing to sit down and listen. And then most importantly, be willing to find common ground. And that's one of the things that differentiates me. That's as a leader who's willing to sit down, no matter where you are. If we have different political opinions or a myriad of things, but how can we work together? Moving forward is my campaign priority spotlight. So if you go to my website now, you'll actually see a listing of all the priorities that I have that I'm focusing on. Really, this has been based off of your feedback as individuals within the community. And you'll see I've got a survey, at the end of this, definitely direct you an opportunity to participate in a survey. I'm gathering information directly back from citizens. Actually, the city of Norfolk right now is doing a survey for citizens, and I'll share that out on next Sunday because you want to make sure that your voice is heard. I appreciate the opportunities when you get those things out there, but you've got to reach people where they are. And so it's great we're doing these surveys, but being able to get into the community, share that information, and to hear those voices is most important as we move forward. So looking at the campaign priority spotlight, what I wanted to share today is about reimagining public safety, reimagining public safety. And so what my priority in its caption really says about, as your council member, I will work tirelessly to reimagine what public safety means to us. Together, we can enhance the relationship between our community and law enforcement, ensuring both safety and respect for all our residents. And guys, that's really the umbrella. And what I want to go over tonight is the actual nut and bolts and meat and potatoes, as you would say, of the heart of this. And I just want to kind of start off with sharing one thing, that this is something that's passionate about for me because it's something that I'm actually working in right now. For individuals who know about my background, I started in banking at Bank of America, made history in our city, becoming the first African American and the youngest at 24 years old to lead our Chamber of Commerce. Then I went into the nonprofit space, working with Norfolk Public Schools for about 9 years. And then I went into human services. I became a senior director with HR CAP, and then moving on to being a vice president with the STOP organization. So community action has been a large part of my life for about 6 years. And then leaving that space there, having a great opportunity to become the executive director of the Friends of the Portsmouth Juvenile Court. I am now working with juveniles through our CASA program, our Act Now gang violence prevention program, community service, to really figure out how we can help youth. I serve on the school board, so you know that my heart and passion is about young people. How do we get them to know that when they make a mistake, that it's not the end of the world for them, but that mistake, you have an opportunity to rebound. And so what you're seeing here is that I had an opportunity to go to LA. I was in Los Angeles, California last week, attending the Gabby Giffords Community Violence Intervention Conference. And this was a remarkable opportunity. I ran into a couple folks from back home here, but also meeting individuals who are in community violence intervention activities throughout the country, Chicago, LA. But then you look at some smaller communities that were there, but looking at how we can be innovative, how we can look at different things to be able to move our communities forward. So I want to share some of the things, the way I look at this, as to what this thing means. How do we reimagine public safety, and what I would be advocating for, whether or not those things are in place right now, or there's things that I will continue to advocate for as your council member. So let's go ahead and let's take a dive at that. So the first thing I have here is enhanced community violence intervention program. So as I mentioned, I see the power, I understand the power of that. There's actually a study that's happening right now. That was a bill that was put forth in the General Assembly to look at the impact of community violence interrupters. Really what this is, it's using individuals who may have been involved in gangs, who may have been involved in crime within their communities. When you think about that in that respect, those individuals have a certain level of respect within the community, but they also have experience. And so they can speak. You can see a lot of different things. You'll hear about a shooting that happens, and the next day you hear there's another shooting that took place. 9 out of 10 times, I can tell you that that shooting was probably retaliatory. Because they found out who it was. But violence interrupters they get in there, they get on the ground, boots on the ground, to understand what's going on there, to prevent violence from taking place or retaliatory violence. So what I really want to look at is how can we increase funding, support for local violence intervention groups and programs. Also want to foster relationships to establish organizations to expand the reach and impact. And that's both through local dollars, state, and as well as federal dollars. That's something I'll continue to advocate for. The next item that I have found here that I know is something that's out there. We need to establish mental health team within the Norfolk Police Department. I know that there's some things that are being advocated for and working towards, but we don't. I have personal experience with this one. A classmate of mine was killed a couple of years ago because he was having an episode where he had a knife, didn't have a gun, but rather than to shoot to maim, he was shot and killed. And I believe that in many cases, we have to be able to de-escalate those type of situations. And so one of the things I'm looking at here is how we can get a specially trained mental health professionals in the police department doing these particular disturbances that are the health disturbances that are taking place, but then also ensure individuals that are crisis receive appropriate care and intervention. That's important. So rather than escalate and heighten it up with violence or a gun with a knife or a gun with another gun, how can we de-escalate those situations, and realizing that in many cases that individuals having a health crisis and treating it as a health crisis rather than using violent force. So that's one of the things that I'm looking at, how we can better train or even get a particular division within the police department that can be able to better engage that. One of the other things that I'm looking at here is strengthening collaboration with city social and human services agencies. As I mentioned before, I've had 6 years of experience working in community action. I mean, that's really human services. That's working with individuals and working with partners to really look at that Maslow's law of hierarchy of self-actualization. You know, that if you don't have a job, or if you can't provide a roof over your head, or food on the table, or a warmth of shelter, if you don't have a job, if you don't have good health, and you're not in good health, then how can we actually expect that individual to participate in the full benefits of the community? And so that's one of the things that I'm looking at when we look at this. How can we collaborate and not recreate the wheel, but how we can better collaborate within both city, social, and different human services organizations that are within. And there we have a lot of different organizations. And before I left Community Action with Stop and came over to Friends, there was a new platform that was put in place, because one of the times a lot of red tape gets in the way. How can we cut down on some of that red tape so that when a person enters one organization, they can be able to, whatever their needs are when they're going through case management, they can be able to get the resources they need. So if they came in the door and it was about a housing situation, but you may also identify that they don't have a job, or that they're bad health in some situation, being able to get in there and be able to support and providing those opportunities and resources is greatly important. So we want to improve the cooperation between police, social services, and nonprofit organizations, so that our police officers who may be out and maybe supporting or acting on a particular call that may have happened, but you identify that there's some other needs that are there. How can we collaborate and strengthen those relationships so that we know that? Create a comprehensive safety net for residents experiencing crisis. And that's one of the things that I know with our social services and a lot of different other groups that we have there. We've got to continue that. I know we've been looking. When I was in LA, one of the things that I noticed a whole lot was about the respect that there was so much homelessness going on. And you all, and you probably here, have seen it in our own community. But our city has made some strides. They've got some transitional homes there, but we've got some great nonprofits. But how can we shoulder up and support those particular entities so that when individuals are unhoused, individuals who are experiencing crisis, how can we get them out of that level of crisis and get them to a stable position where we can get them, and then most importantly, allow them an opportunity to be able to move forward. So I'm very focused on that. And that's where my experience comes in, working in human services, to understand that it's not about dollars and cents all the time. It's about meeting the needs of people and helping people get to where they need to be. And so how we can cut the red tape, how we can make sure that we deliver efficiently so that people get what they need in a timely manner. The other thing that I have here that I wanted to provide to you is looking at partner with current as well as develop youth mentoring and engagement programs. Now, you know you weren't going to get on a call with me and not hear me talking about young people. But this is one of the things that's critically important. I'm glad when I heard about 2 years ago with the Norfolk Nighthawks coming back. I love when summer break comes, but I also dread when summer break comes. Because I realized that there were a lot of our youth, if they're not in a paid program or they're not participating in some type of community camp, their mom and dad didn't stop working. And so we have youth who are home, or youth who are not engaged. And so I've been seeing more activations, more organizations that are getting involved. Our city is doing some more additional things, but we need to do more. We need to provide an environment where our young people can be positive, young people can be engaged. And so when we look at that, we want to expand initiatives that provide mentoring, exposure, and guidance to at-risk youth. And so I'm always going to be supportive of that. Doing that now, I'm on the school board, but I'll definitely be supportive sitting in the seat on city council and looking at, when we're looking at budget, prioritizing the things that we say that are important to us. So we got to partner with our schools and our community organizations, and we got to provide positive alternatives to violence. One of the things that we have, one of the opportunities that we have in Portsmouth that I'm working with Portsmouth Public Schools is our Turn program. And that's one of the programs we're looking at how we're using music to be able to engage young people and to take some of the things that they're experiencing, some of the thoughts that they have there, and transitioning it and channeling it into a positive thing that they can create something out of it. So it's a lot of different things that are out there, but we've got to tap in. And we've got to elevate those particular programs to be able to support young people so that they don't, as you can say, an idle mind. If there's no sense of purpose there, that's when so many things happen. And so we want to make sure that we turn young people in the right direction, away from the things that can get them in trouble. The other thing is invest in recreational centers and youth programming. Now, this is the thing, because again, I talked about dollars and cents. We have a model right now that has recreation centers throughout the city. And I know that the city is moving towards Virginia Beach model that has more larger recreation centers that may even have libraries attached to them. And that's all fine, as long as we make sure that we have access. And access, so I'm talking about transportation from various different communities. I know that we have Vision Zero, where we're looking at making our city more pedestrian friendly. If we can do those things, then that model can definitely work. And that's something that I'll continue to advocate for. But we got to upgrade and build more recreation centers in our underserved areas, or in this particular model, making sure that we create access. We've got to increase funding for after school programs, sports leagues, and other cultural activities. We want our young people to be excited, but not just our young people. This is also a great opportunity for a lot of our seniors, creating opportunities for them through our senior citizens and through senior centers, and as well as some of the program that we put in place. And we got to establish more summer camps and workshops to keep kids engaged and active. And that's one thing I'll have to give credit. And I say more, not that we have to start, but we have a lot of things that are in place right now to continue to open lines of communication, collaboration across the city, so that we can ensure that where there's no overduplication. But I also know that a lot of times the capacity is not there for nonprofits to be all things to all people. But it's great when you can come together and make an exponential impact in the lives of people. When you're doing your part there, and that person's doing their part there, and you can come together to really make an impact, an exponential impact, as I would say it, in the lives of young people. So that's very, very important to me. One of the other things that I have here that I wanted to share, and in that respect, in that vein, is form community safety task force. And I know we've got a lot of things that are there, but as the new incoming, if I'm elected, the new incoming Super Ward 7 member, I want to include new task force, as well as I'm looking at things that have already been in place. But I feel like it is critically important that we have local community leaders, our civic activists, as well as residents develop tailored safety solutions. So working with our police department to ensure that your voices are heard there, and that they're continuously heard as we move through and develop plans. We also have to promote community-led initiatives to address neighborhood-specific challenges. The police, elected officials can only do so much. It really requires the community standing up and being that voice. Being those eyes, being those ears, and building a relationship so that you know what who to call, or being able to use an app, or making sure that when you do that, that our police department and our public safety officials are responsive and they're timely in being able to address those needs. The other thing that I wanted to share with you in that respect also is looking at implement community policing strategies. And that was beginning to allude to that in that other one. And that's to encourage police officers to build stronger relationships with their community members. I have to give credit to Norfolk in that respect, that we have been doing community policing model for a long time. I appreciate our new chief and what they're doing in community engagement. Continue to do that. And if they need additional resources to do that, I believe that's important as a deterrent for violence within our communities. But also we have to increase transparency and accountability within the police department. And I believe that we're on the right track for that. Just knowing that as your council member, I'll continue to be supportive not only of that with the police department, but also on council, being transparent and being accountable to the citizens of Norfolk. The last item that I have down there, in that perspective, is increased investment in mental health resources. You heard me earlier mention about within the police department being able to have a special unit there. But I really feel like coming out of COVID, it really exasperated a lot of things. The Surgeon General just announced that cell phones is being labeled as a national health crisis. And working in public education, working with our schools, I can tell you, and you probably know at home, looking at your young person or your teenager, kids, like the babies come out and they know technology. But there's so much time that's spent on these devices during COVID, not really being able to have that social interaction, that there really are some individuals who are dealing with a lot more. But how can we provide resources to support? And I look at that within our schools. We've been advocating for that to make sure that we've got those counselors and individuals who can support. But then there's also individuals in the community. So our community services board, other different agencies that are within our city, making sure that we can meet those needs of individuals. And then providing resources around mental health education and awareness campaigns. I think that even those who aren't experiencing it, you may know someone who is. And so being able to identify and be able to see and recognize those individuals who are experiencing those mental health challenges, making sure that we've got resources that we can support them, so we can support them is vitally important, and it's something that I'll continue to advocate for. So expand education and career development opportunities. I think this is another great way. When we look at job training programs. I know that Norfolk has a workforce development opportunity, but then also looking at from an educational perspective. And this is something that I also champion for. I'm working with my fraternity right now and with others. I support the constitutional amendment for voter restoration rights for felons, nonviolent felons who have served their time. We want them to be involved. We want them to get back, reinstituted back into the community. We want them to be able to vote. We want them to be able to go to work. Um, that's vitally important. But it's also the same on the same frame for individuals who just need job training or giving them placement for our youth and young adults. Norfolk has done their nail program in the past, and I appreciate that. I think that's something that's great, and we need to continue to do that and figure out ways that we can collaborate with more business and industry in the community so that we can provide more internships and apprenticeships. That's also a major component on the public school side. That individuals, that our young people have that experience before they leave school, so they're readily prepared as they move forward after post graduation. One of the other things that I have under that one is promote safe and inclusive school environments. One of the things that you can get out of me serving on city council and having this experience on the school board is that I understand how there needs to be a collaborative partnership. It's not city council versus the school board, but it's coming together. Each body has a unique role and responsibility. City council is a fiscal agent responsible for generating a tax base, generating revenue to be able to support and fund public schools, while on the other side, the school board provides policy. It sets a budget. It sets those priorities. And they're along with the superintendent and their staff, they're the educational experts. But I want to ensure that we have safe and inclusive school environments. I know we've heard so much about fights and things that are going on, but what can we do on the policy side? But then also, what can we do to support Norfolk Public Schools implementing anti-bullying programs and conflict resolution? I'm a huge proponent on that restorative rights and restorative justice opportunities where young people aren't penalized for making a mistake, but they can understand from the mistake that they made how they can go about it differently and better. So we got to make sure that our schools also have the mental health professionals and resources. And I'll continue to advocate for that, not only on the local level, but also at the state level, because we have not fully funded. I appreciate the General Assembly and I appreciate our delegation for continuously fight. Norfolk got a considerable amount of additional funds in, but we've got to continue to look at through the JLARC study, looking at what we are fully funding public education and what the true cost of public education is within the Commonwealth, and particularly as it affects here in Norfolk. And so kind of wrapping up in that one, we've got to engage with our community through regular town halls and forums. I'll continue to do things like these lives, going out to your civic leagues, quarterly chat and chew opportunities. I really want to hear from the community. That's one of the things that you can definitely see, that I'm not an individual that's going to tell you what you want to hear so I can get you out of my way, but really, how can I hear from you? So that I can better go back and advocate on your behalf and be your voice within those rooms. I have an opportunity. If you've got some additional priorities that you want to share or information that you want to bring forth to me, there's the QR code. You can take that there, scan your phone, or you can go to our website. That information is also presented, scrolling across down there, where you can take part. If you go to carlosclanton.com, carlosclanton4norfolk.com, you can actually participate in the survey, and I'll be able to get your information. Everybody come out this coming Wednesday. we're going to actually have an opportunity where we're going to be at Ordinaire. You can go there. Matter of fact, I'm pulling this up. This is events. So if you hit that QR code, and it'll take you there. But if you go to my website, just scroll down to the bottom, you'll also see an opportunity where you can sign up and be with us this coming Wednesday. Wednesday at Ordinaire, right after work at 5 o'clock. Come on over and join us for a great time there. And so with that, everybody, I say thank you. I appreciate you all spending time and hope you enjoy the rest.